3. Just as you see on the screen there, practically wearing the same outfit, right? Nah, not quite the same outfit. But anyway, this is 3 at 3. Thank you for joining us. Let's get started. It's 2 o'clock Central, 3 o'clock Eastern, which is why we call it 3 at 3. We give you 3 stocks that we're looking at for unusual option activity. And I'm kicking it off right now with 3 at 3. So with no further ado, let me do that. Disclaimer says that this is for educational and informational purposes only. If you'd like to learn more about what we do, please check out marketrebellion.com. The intellectual property rights are that this is our intellectual property. So before you use it, just ask us. In all likelihood, we will say yes. But you need to ask us, please, and we will say yes, 99 times out of 100, folks. So we just want to make sure that if somebody's using our slides or our intellectual property, because we've got, we've got patents, we've got trademarks, we've got registered marks on virtually everything you're going to see here. We just want to make sure that we're covering our bases. Yesterday, we spoke of MGM, and we spoke of these 9,000 August 18 calls that were bought for, let's say, 80 cents, huh? Something like that. Let's pick a number in between there. They're bought for 80 cents. And they sold 9,000 of the 1950 calls, which means they have a 1.5 point spread on. Basically betting that the stock makes a move, but if it gets to 19.5 or higher, they're locked in. That spread can only go to $1.50. The difference between those two strikes, 18 and 19.5. Now, if you paid 80 cents and sold the others for 35 cents or so, obviously you've got very little capital in the trade, and you have a great upside if it's higher than $18 and let's say 45 cents. Well, it was. And in fact, these calls already went to, there you see the yellow arrow, $1.86 today. So MGM calls that closed last night at 60 cents were bid still right around 60 cents, picking a middle point on that screen that you see. And they had traded up all the way to $1.86 today. I have taken off half of my trade. I've sold other calls against the other half because that's a discipline that I always try to use, folks. When an option doubles, and these did, they went from 75 cents, 80 cents up to over $1.80. I take off half, and then I decide, okay, can I sell maybe the calls that I bought here for 75 cents or 80 cents? Can I sell the 19s for 80 cents and basically have no money at risk on the remaining 50% of my trade, and yet have the potential that I could turn 0 into 100? Because obviously if I have the right to take it at 18, somebody else has the right to take it from me at 19, and I paid 0 for it effectively, because if I bought these for 75 cents, sold these for 75 cents or thereabouts, I'm in a 0 risk trade, and I could turn that into $100. So I like my odds. I like the trade. That's where I am. If you'd like to learn more about how we do what we do, well, you can go over to marketrebellion.com/get started, because there you can learn about trading stock, options, futures, cryptocurrencies, all four over at marketrebellion.com/get started. All right, let's get started with today's 3 at 3. 3 new trades today, right now. First one, Facebook. How come? Because Facebook saw a surge of buying. It is my third largest position. My first is Apple. My second is Microsoft. Facebook is my third. You've seen me talking about it on CNBC. You've probably seen my friend Scott Wapner ask me, Doc, how can you be long this stock? And I said, well, because Zuckerberg has done 70 acquisitions, and this guy knows how to buy stocks, buy competitors, and or build his business to take over competitors' spaces. That's why. And it doesn't hurt that he's got 3 billion people active on his platform. That's between WhatsApp, Instagram, and Facebook. But like I've said, he's done 70 acquisitions, folks. This is one of the best serial entrepreneurs out there. So I am long the stock. Facebook today hit a new all-time high. Right now, let me see. Where is my FB right now? Facebook, 267. It's up almost $2 right now. It hit a high on the day today of 278 and change. When it did that, the market cap of Facebook pushed all the way up to $800 billion. Think of the folks that invested in this one before it was a unicorn, before it was $1 billion. Think of those folks. They turned that into 800 times their money. 800 times. So if you had $1,000, that's $800,000. Just, you know, the numbers are staggering fast, folks. $10,000, you get the idea. Bang. All right, let's get to the unusual activity. They bought the August 6750 calls. Then they also bought, and one of the drivers today, by the way, was this. Facebook Gaming was approved on Apple iOS. Now, it's not the full gaming platform that it will be for esports, but it's on the way, and it finally got approved. It took them a long time to get it, by the way. Here you see that it traded over 1.1 million calls today. That shows you some of the exchanges that those calls were traded on. Not even all the exchanges. I couldn't even show them all. But there you see all those different strikes. They were buying the August 275s, 160,000 of those. That's, folks, that's 16 million shares of stock equivalent at the 275 strike. 270 strike, 10 million share equivalent. 280 strike, 9.6 million share equivalent. The other AUG 80s that expire next Friday, 7 million share equivalent, because all of those volumes are, of course, options, and every option's for 100 shares of stock. Bang. Here's our look at Facebook. Like the move. I am in the stock, as I said, my third largest holding, and couldn't be happier. Think these guys are doing a great job. Second of our 3 at 3 on semiconductor. What did they do here? They bought 15,200 of the AUG 22 calls, which were approximately $1.40 out of the money, above the market. So I like that as a tell. I like the fact that it's 1.5 million share equivalent because every option is for 100 shares of stock. So when they trade 15,000 of something, that's 1.5 million share equivalent. 1.5 million times $70 is a big trade. That's a multi-million-dollar trade that I want to follow. And so that's what we do over at Market Rebellion. We cite the activity. We show you that they've got earnings due next week on the 10th. Today's the 7th, so that makes, of course, Monday the 10th. And they paid, like I say, call it 70, 75 cents for these AUG 22 calls. There is the stock as it comes up off that April low when it was a single-digit semiconductor stock, single-digit price. You imagine that? So now you've already doubled your money, and somebody's betting that the stock goes higher next Monday. I'm in this one, and as the stock has rallied here, because as you see, we got in at 2062. It's now just 2067-ish. I'm going to be selling calls against it because these are options that are short term, and I want to be set for the earnings next week. Bang! Let's get to our third of our 3 at 3. JP Morgan, my buddy Jamie Dimon. So what do we see in JP Morgan? Oh, only 29,000 calls changing hands in JP Morgan, symbol JPM. So they're buying 29,000 calls. That's 2.9 million share equivalent. You're kind of catching on, right? Every option's for 100 shares of stock. So they're buying at the 100 strike. Options that expire next Friday, 7 days hence. So when we see that and they're trading for 60 cents on up to $1.20, in other words, whoever got in early, I didn't get those at 60 cents, whoever got in early already has a double on their hands. Now, 3 million share equivalent when you're making a double is not so bad. Not so bad to turn 3 million into 6 million. But I didn't get in at 60 cents. I got in at 90 cents. And so I have not traded out of this one yet. Now let's see where JP Morgan has been. There you see that they've traded 135,000 calls. That white area of the screen here, folks, on the heat seeker, that is the call summary and the puts. As you can see, they're trading basically 3-to-1 calls to puts. Why am I saying that? Because 40,000 puts in rough numbers, 130,000 calls in rough numbers. So I'm saying roughly 3-to-1 calls to puts. And look, AUG 100s for next week, it's up over 30,000 now. The 98 calls up over 10,000 now. The 100 calls that expire today, about 7,000 so far. So you get the idea. That's why I want to follow smart money, because people are betting a lot that either maybe a deal gets struck over the weekend, maybe Trump has to enact some sort of executive order. Whatever the reason is, somebody's betting that there's positive news that helps lift this stock in particular next week. I like to follow that. I also like that 1,000 shares of a $98 stock is $98,000. I can control 1,000 shares, which would be a 10 lot of this. As I told you, I paid $90. So a 10 lot would be $900. I can control for less, basically about 1% of what it would cost me to buy the stock. I can control it from 100 on up for a week. That's your trade-off, time frame. How much time? I've got 7 days to be right. How much does the stock have to leap? Not that much, a little over $1, because it's basically $99 a share. So I like it. I didn't buy 10 of these, though. I bought over 100 of these, which would mean I have a $9,000 bet, if you want to call it that, that whoever is doing this is going to be right. So I'm following right along with them, saying, here's my money. I want in with that guy who just plopped down 2.9 million share equivalent. I want to be betting with that guy. And there's the graph, which shows you that obviously back in January, the stock was 140. It's been trading sideways here, bumping along at 100 since April. I mean, look at that April on the recovery. It got back over 100, traded back down to 90. Traded back towards 100 and then through 100 to about 115, 16. And that's when a bunch of my friends on CNBC started saying, well, I really like JP Morgan here. And I'm like, it's rolling over here. We're taking profits. We did. Not at the highs. So this is not me just patting myself on the back saying I pick tops and bottoms all the time. You know what they say about bottom pickers, by the way, stinky fingers. So what I do is I like to get in here, move the odds into my favor, help you understand how I move the odds into my favor. How do I do it? I own the calls instead of a $98 stock. If this stock falls by $2 and I have 1,000 share investment, $98,000 investment in it, I lose $2,000. If this stock falls $2 between now and next week, how much could I lose if I bought a 1,000 share position? $900. I like my odds a lot better. And if this one starts moving to the upside, I also like the idea that I can double my money much faster. Somebody to double their money on this stock, it needs to go to 200. For me to double my money, all this one has to do is basically push over 100, and that's where I'll be doubling my money. Thank you, folks, for joining me today. If you'd like to learn more about Market Rebellion and what we do for unusual option activity, go to marketrebellion.com/UOA for unusual option activity. That's marketrebellion.com/UOA. You can learn all about what we do, multiple trades per day unusual activity on calls, bullish on puts, bearish. Also, we have, if this is too many trades a day, if 10 and 20 and 30 trades a day is too many for you, well, we've got a 1 trade a day service. And we've got a 1 traded week service. And Pete's got his cash flow portfolio, which he's been killing it, knock on wood, this year in that cash flow portfolio where he buys stocks, sells calls against those stocks, and harvests, turns those dividends that would have been like 1% to 3% into 10 and 12% by selling calls against it. And he lays it out for you every single week. You can go to marketrebellion.com, see all the things that we do. And remember, as I said yesterday, we just brought AJ Monty in, chartered market technician, AJ Monty, and he has his service now, Option Oracle, which is a great service where he's looking at the charts for breakouts or breakdowns, and he's setting you up with an option trade for it to take advantage. That's AJ Monty. By the way, his Twitter handle is @TheOptionOracle. The Option Oracle. Thank you for joining me, folks. I hope you have a great weekend, a fantastic weekend. I'm going to get outside and get ready for our cocktail party with our customers a little over an hour from now. Bang! Have a good one.